Hi everyone, I'm Tim Raines and welcome to the CPA Minute. As you've probably heard, Congress has been kind of busy. We've all been holed up in our homes for the COVID-19 virus. But Congress did pass a CARES Act. CARES stands for the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. This is a $2 trillion package to help not only providing health care and getting the aid and equipment and personal protection equipment that we need. But there's also a $350 billion portion of that, and in order to help stimulate the economy and to, again, protect payroll, paychecks. A big part of that was the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP. This is a 100% federally guaranteed loan for small businesses. And the point is, and I'll probably repeat myself a lot, but is to protect payroll. And you'll see that theme throughout the act with the eligibility rules, as well as how they calculated the loan, as well as how they calculate how much is forgiven. So you probably heard it on the news, you probably heard it on TV. If you're a small business owner or one of our clients, we've been trying to reach out to you and spread the word about this, because this is really a good deal for business, and we think everybody ought to jump on it. So are you even eligible for it? If you are a small business owner with fewer than 500 employees, qualify. There are certain businesses with more than 500 employees, but as long as you still fall up under the SBA guidelines as a small business, you may qualify. One interesting thing about this act is it also applies to not-for-profits. So 501c3s, for example, with fewer than 500 employees are eligible, as well as 50c19s, I believe, regarding veteran organizations. As long as you meet the rules under the SBA guidelines as a small business, you could qualify for this. Also has some provisions in there regarding independent contractors and sole proprietors, so be on the lookout for that as well. There is also some special rules if for, as you probably know, restaurants are getting hit really hard right now. So a lot of the restaurant groups, maybe you own 10 restaurants and you may have more than 500 employees if you look at the total. So this act specifically carves those out. And if you are in the restaurant food services industry, that NAIC code 72, if you fall within that specific industry, then it doesn't matter if your whole organization has more than 500, as long as you have no more than 500 at each location. So you can see some franchise operators, running into this as well. And typically, they would not be approved. So this might be worth looking into. What are lenders going to be looking for? They're going to be looking for things such as your accounting showing 12 months worth of payroll, your accounting showing things such as 12 months worth of rent, interest, and utilities. They're probably going to ask you for 941s, which is your quarterly payroll tax reports, just so that you can show that you do have payroll cost. How much can I borrow? This is the big question. It's something that we've been losing sleep over for the last week and a half or so. And the reason is because the CARES Act itself, if you read the law, and it's roughly around section 1100, 1105, 1106, specifically giving the formula as to what qualifies for payroll cost. So there were a couple of days after the act passed that we were all calculating one way for our clients, but then the SBA issued some internal final rulings, some guidelines, so to speak, and they were slightly different. So it really caused confusion among the accounting industry as well as your bankers as well. So a lot of what you read on the internet may conflict with one another. And I'm encouraging everybody just to go out and reach to their banker, because they want to work with their banker. because different banks, even though this is an SBA loan, different banks aren't really prepared right now for the underwriting. What are they going to expect? What are they going to look for? And each one is looking for something slightly different. So let's look at this. Maximum loan value is based on 2.5 times your payroll cost. So hence the definition of payroll cost. As small business owners, we think of a cost of an employee to be not only the wages that we pay that employee, but the benefits that we pay for the employee, as well as the payroll taxes paid for the employee. Keep in mind that FICA, the Social Security and Medicare, they're really two different people pay that. Part of that comes out of the employee paycheck, their half, and then another half is matched by the employer. So there's a lot of discussion and a little bit of unknown as to whether the employer part and the employee part can get added into the payroll cost. So I really encourage you to work with your bank on that. But basically the formula is you take your wages, your salaries, and any other compensation such as tips, commissions, if you accrue vacation pay, family leave pay, accrued sick time, if there's an allowance for dismissal or separations, you get to add those in. Any payments required for group health insurance, those are included. Any retirement benefits, those are included. And then we get into this discussion of what taxes are included. The way the CARES Act states, written and passed into law, is that it only includes the state and local taxes that are assessed on the wages and compensation of the employee. So typically that's your SUTA, your state unemployment tax. Obviously, if you're in a big city in New York, things like that, that may have taxes on wages, those get included as well. One of the big items that the SBA did not want included in payroll cost were the highly compensated people. Suppose you had a salesman out hitting the road all the time and he's making $120,000. You're only allowed to count up to the first $100,000 of that individual's wages. You can still pay him, obviously, but you're only going to get a loan for the first $100,000. They were trying to really make this more toward the working class, and they were looking at the industries that were hurt the most, such as restaurants and hospitalities, things like that. So the big advantage to this bill and this particular program, PPP, is that a portion of it will be forgiven and you won't have to pay it back. It, in essence, becomes a grant from the federal government. So how much is forgiven? That's a whole nother calculation. Please keep in mind, usually we have a couple of months to sort these sorts of issues out. Usually when Congress passes a bill, we get time to go through the mechanics of the formula. We have time to, how does this really operate in real life, in a real small business? What are some of the issues with maybe the way it was written? Potentially there's a technical corrections bill that happens afterwards. We're not really getting the benefit of that in this CARES Act because this is a very rushed bill. There's not a lot of guidance behind it. So we're really trying to do our best. And everybody right now is cramming to try to figure out how much the loan value is. But in a couple of weeks, 8 weeks before June 30, we're all going to be stumbling upon how much is the forgiven portion. And again, I'm hoping to get more guidance before June to help sort that out. But as it's written right now, you'll be forgiven the payroll costs for 8 weeks. So the amount of wages that you pay your employees for 8 weeks, beginning with the date of the loan. So if you get your loan next week, then that's when the date will start. The goal of this was to hire back everybody that maybe has been laid off, or to hire back at more hours the people that have been cut back or furloughed. So we're looking at the government reimbursing small businesses for payroll costs to keep everybody on the payroll, as well as no more than 25% of the loan can be applied toward mortgages, your mortgage interest, your rent, and some utilities. Again, no more than 25% for that, but there is a little bit in there for overhead, so that is a nice benefit. Now, since this is the Payroll Protection Act, there is also part of the formula of forgiveness to take a look at your full-time employees. The goal is that you will not reduce your workforce by more than 25%. So for example, if you had 30 employees as of February 15th before the virus hit, the goal is that you would try to rehire as many of those 30 as you could, and you had to hire back at least 75% of what you had as of February 15th. If you don't, then they're going to prorate how much of your loan, the forgiveness portion, back down. So again, the goal is to get everybody back employed. This is a really good deal. I don't like to use the word free money because it's really your taxpayer dollars coming back to you, but I think this is really a good deal for small business owners. I really encourage everyone to take a look at it. Even if you're an independent contractor or a sole proprietor, those rules are still being worked out. There's still a lot of ambiguities as to what's going to qualify, what's not going to qualify. Again, I suggest you really check with your banker, work with your accountant closely to get all the documentation that you need, but really look hard at this. I think it's going to be a really big benefit to keep everybody paid, keep food on the table, and let's keep our businesses going. One of the things I deal with a lot of restaurants, and one of the discussions was a lot of people are on sick leave. A lot of people under the Family First Relief Act, a lot of people will get paid time off. A lot of people are going to be getting their stimulus checks, and a lot of people are going to get paid under this PPP program. So the goal is to keep everything up and running until we can survive the coronavirus, and the businesses and restaurants and retail shops will be open, so that by the time we open the economy back up, there will be a place for people to spend this money. And that is going to help boost the economy back up and get it back to where we were before it all happened. So again, it's a great opportunity. I really encourage all of our clients and all of our friends out there, if you're a small business owner and you think you qualify, please think about this. Feel free to reach out to us. If you have any comments or questions, you can leave them down in the comments. Give us a call, send us an email. If you really like what we're doing, we're not YouTubers, we're CPAs, but we're doing our best. If you want more content like this, feel free to leave us a comment. Let us know what you're looking for, and I'm happy to make a video about it and give you a little bit of my insights and thoughts. Thank you for watching.